Hello, my name's Tom. I'm the reserve manager here at Martin Mere. I'm actually out on the mere itself, getting ready to raise the water levels in time for the returning wildfowl. Welcome to another episode of Martin Mere's Wildlife Weekly. You've been treated to some fantastic wildlife weeklies all the way from Iceland, looking at the pink-footed geese and the whooper swans. But the reserve department haven't been resting on our laurels. This is the busiest time of year for us, getting the habitat in perfect condition for a returning wildfowl. But one of the last things we have to do is raise the water levels. A few hundred years ago, Martin Mere was one of the biggest lonely lakes in the UK, stretching from here to Southport. And it was fantastic habitat for a whole array of different wildlife throughout the summer and the winter months. But in around 1770, local landowner at the time decided to try and drain this great lake by putting lots of ditches in and draining it all the way over to the Ribble. The reason why he wanted to do this was, although the lake was big, it was very shallow, and he knew the soil underneath was really fertile and make fantastic agricultural land. And that's pretty much what surrounds Martin Mere at the moment. Anywhere you go, you'll see really top quality agricultural land. But Martin Mere stayed wet and it stayed fairly unspoilt, and that meant we still got really good numbers of pink-footed geese. And that's what Sir Peter Scott came up to Martin Mere to preserve, and bought around 360 acres of this unspoilt wetland that we've got behind us now to try and conserve these pink-footed geese. When Peter Scott bought Martin Mere, he was quoted as saying, "We have the opportunity to make a great step forward for conservation. The Mere is an oasis of primitive and unspoilt wetlands which can be turned into one of the finest natural nature reserves and wildlife refuges in Britain." So let's go and see how and why we raise the water levels for the returning wildfowl. So I'm stood at the pump house, and just before I turn on the pumps to flood the Mere, there's a few key things we have to do first. First of all, we have to turn the taps on so the water can actually get out the pipes and get onto the Mere. The second bit we have to do is we have to block up the outflows, and the way we do that is with a really complicated bit of equipment called a right angled pipe. All this does is it slots into the outflow quite snugly, and then we can raise and lower the water levels to meet what we need. So what I've done is I've put that outflow in, turned on the taps, and now it's time to get into the pump house and to turn on the pumps. 2,000 or so pink-footed geese coming into roost. They've been disturbed off the farmers' fields and they've just landed just onto Sunleys Marsh. We've got about 2,500 geese at the moment, with up to about 5,000 in the area, so it's a pretty special time, and these numbers are going to increase week after week until we get into late October, November time, when we'll get our peak counts. Over the next few days, if you keep your eyes out for the weather, what we're really looking for pink-footed goose migration, and later in the year for the whooper swans, is a cold northerly weather front coming down from Scotland, moving down to the north of England. Because behind this is going to be a bit of cold weather, unsettled, and that's going to move the geese on to where they want to overwinter, and Martin Mere is one of those places. Also at the moment, it's not just brilliant for these pink-footed geese, it's also a great time to come down, especially to your local wetlands, and seeing the mist rising up off the water bodies. You can see this especially well if you go down to the reed bed footpath, which you can get access to early in the mornings. Look out from the viewing platforms there, and you'll see the stunning very atmospheric mist rising across the reed bed, which is a great chance for you to get down and take some really nice photography of the landscape. And it definitely is worthwhile getting down to your wetland, especially around Lancashire, to see this spectacle.